What's the real secret to break ankles? We're going to talk about what it is and what it's not. I'm also going to give you the big key and then the ways that you would want to go about using that. The big thing that a lot of people think that gets defenders' ankles broken is doing flashy moves, right? Behind the back, double behind the back, between the legs, behind the back, spin move, all that stuff. And really, I mean, any of those moves, yeah, they can break ankles, but that's not what's breaking ankles. If you're stationary, right, and in one spot and doing all these dribble moves, your chances of breaking someone's ankles are really, really slim. The only way you'll really have an opportunity to do that is if you got a defender that's really reaching for the basketball, right? And a lot of defenders don't play that way. They're just trying to stay in front of you, right? So if they're not trying to steal the basketball and you're not moving, why would you break their ankles? Why would they fall? That's just not going to happen, right? So if I can be doing a million moves here, that does nothing for breaking ankles. I can go between the legs, behind the back. It means nothing. So that's 5-10% of players that are going to reach for the basketball. So we know that's probably got a very low chance of being able to create something for yourself off the dribble or especially breaking ankles. But what pretty much 100% of defenders will do, unless they are a terrible defender that'll leave 96% of people, is they will move to try to stay in front of you. And that's where ankle breaking really happens. Because if a defender's trying to move really quick, their knee can buckle, their ankle can roll, they can trip up over their own feet, right? When they have to move quick and react and make quick changes of direction, or they have to move really fast to backpedal, that's where the problems come for them. And it's also when you're moving and coming towards your defender that a lot of times contact is created, and that can bump them off balance. And to me, that's not really an ankle breaker, but a lot of people, when that kind of stuff happens, still call it an ankle breaker. The point is, you gotta get moving. So the big key is your feet, your footwork. But how you do that and what you do with your feet is the biggest key to making sure that you're breaking more ankles and creating off the dribble. I'm going to go over some of the main footwork moves. Yes, there's moves for your feet that you'll want to be using to try to break some ankles, get past defenders, all that stuff, and how you want to execute when you're doing those moves. This is big because if you're not applying these keys, they're really not going to work for you, so you have to put these in place. The first key is to try to make sure your feet are always inches from the ground. Now, there's certain types of steps you're going to take where you want your feet a little higher from the ground, but typically, if I can keep my feet lower to the ground, that's going to make my footwork a lot quicker and I can react more quickly. If I'm ready to start moving this way and actually go into a crossover and I see my defender moving this way, if my foot's high off the ground, it takes longer to get it down and then quickly change directions back this way. But if I have it low to the ground, I can boom, react, push the basketball out this way. Good chance I'll get them to fall to the ground because they didn't see that change of direction coming. In fact, I didn't even see it coming until the last second, right? Now my movement is more effective and quick. That's the second big key, is to make sure your footwork is quick. You don't want to take slow steps because then your defender can just kind of slide with you, right? And if they're doing that, it's easier for them to react, stay on balance, which is your third big key. Always try to stay on balance whenever you're doing your footwork. If you're off balance, you might break your own ankles and fall to the ground. So a good tip for that is to try to keep your torso, your chest, inside the frame of your knees, okay? So if I come outside my knee here with my chest, now I'm gonna be off balance. So if I'm doing a crossover and I wanna sell a fake, sure, I wanna lean into it a little bit, but I don't wanna lean into it too far or I might be the one falling to the ground. Next big key you'll wanna focus on is if you're really trying to send a defender flying or if you wanna get past them, both are ways you can break ankles, right? A quick first step. I've seen guys just break ankles just by getting past them quick. Or if you want to send them flying, again, another way they might fall to the ground, long steps, long big steps. So typically, most of your other steps, you want them to be maybe shoulder width, maybe twice shoulder width apart. But when you're really trying to sell a big move, put that big step in from time to time. Next thing you'll want to pay attention to is to get those steps happening and these moves closer to your defender. Again, that creates possibilities for you to have contact with the defender. They could fall from that. But it also creates a situation where if I get a step really close to you, boom, if I'm here, what are you going to do? You know I'm in a position to beat you, so you're gonna take off flying quick. You're gonna react more, right? And when a defender starts jumping around quick and reacting more, they're at your mercy. Good chance you can get them to fall to the ground. And then the last thing we gotta talk about is you gotta have variety with what you're doing with your footwork, which is where these moves are gonna come into play. So here's a quick rundown of different moves you can do with your feet, and these can be combined with pretty much any dribble move. So your crossover, your regular dribble, your inside out, your between the legs, your reverse between the legs, your behind the back, your spin move. All these footwork moves can be applied in different ways. So something to keep in mind, and you can come up with a lot of different ways of breaking your defender down. So the first one we gotta talk about is the time-tested out jab. So you can use this with an inside out. You can use this with a regular dribble. You can use this with the same side as the hand that has the basketball to sell a crossover, a fake before you go into a crossover. Also great for different kinds of snatchbacks, right? You could take a big hard out jab more forward to get into their space, send them flying, and then do a snatchback here, here, or behind the back. The possibilities are endless. You can come from between the legs and then sell an out jab. After that, you can cross over and out jab the opposite direction. I could out jab and then go into a crossover. A lot of things you could do with that to get your defender moving around and shifting. Next one is going to be your cross body step, probably the second most common one. I use this a ton for like stiff leg crossovers. That's great for sending them flying. You can do it between the legs to protect the basketball a little bit more, but it's also good for your first step to protect the basketball. But this one I like because when you take this step, I usually want to do it only with the opposite foot of the hand that's dribbling, not this foot, because now the ball is pretty unprotected. But if I do it with this foot, now the ball is protected, I can get in deep and past my defender, or at least really close to them. So now I know they're going to go flying, and I can just cross over right back. Plus, you could just use it to go past them. You can use it for a step back. A lot of options from that, and all those doing that long, big step like we talked about before, you could break some ankles with that. Next one you might not be thinking about is the scissors. You could do this a lot of ways. You could scissors your feet to go into between the legs. You can scissors your feet the other way to go between the legs. You could scissors with a regular dribble. This is great for kind of loading up or giving a change of speed. So what I mean by that is for more of a standstill, you can kind of load up to kind of let your defender know you're about to do something, and that kind of gets them ready to move with you, right? And you could take advantage of what they do. If they start to shoot this way because they think you're going to go this way, cross over, might break their ankles, right? Because they don't see that direction change coming. If they think you're going to come this way into a crossover because you hit them with that once, boom, you can blow by them. I've seen guys break ankles with this simple move. And then another way you can use it is to come right up to them from some movement. So you're coming down the court or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're from the three-point line and they're waiting for you at 15 feet and then going right into the scissors as a change of speed to set them up and blow by them. So if you're moving and you got them like backpedaling, moving with you, and then they stop and then they have to go again, little things like that can throw them off balance if they're not ready for your second motion forward, right? If I'm coming forward, I stop the scissors and then I blow by. A lot of defenders, just little things like that, I've got guys to fall with that. Three more main ones we're going to want to talk about. The hop, which is really good for quickly going into a crossover. Derrick Rose used to do this a lot. You don't see a lot of guys do this, but it's a way to quickly stop with both feet, be in good control, and then from there, you can make a really sharp direction change with a crossover, or you can just go right back forward. But it gives you that kind of change of speed again. That's huge, where you're going quick, stopping, and then boom, changing directions. That'll throw a lot of defenders off, because a lot of times when they see you go into a hop, they think you're going to shoot. So if you keep your dribble alive, you can use that to your advantage. Next, we kind of talked about, in combination with a move previously, the step back. Now the step back, I like to set this up a lot with the out jab to set it up, and that'll get a lot of movement for them coming this way and then this way. I've seen guys break ankles with this. Kyrie Irving got Brandon Knight with it. He did a crossover step in and then went into that step back. So a lot of little ways you can do that. But for me, the big way to break ankles from it is to come from that. And even the similar thing you could do with the stiff leg or the snatch back, because they're kind of like step back type motions. But from it, you have a lot of options to either shoot, and again, you could just break their ankles from that. But where you can really get a lot of guys is hesitating to get them to try to close the gap. and now they're making a direction change of coming this way with you, and then trying to come back, and then try to go this way. As a defender, to go here, 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 that's hard. Defenders always taught to drop their hips and slide, right? So they either have to be doing this really quick, where it's hard for them to stay on balance, or moving forward back, which is hard to stay on balance and react with you. So once you get to this point, just knowing your options of driving right, or different types of crossovers, could be between the legs, regular cross, spin move, left. I've seen a lot of highlights of guys breaking ankles. I've broke ankles and had guys fall to the ground with the spin move. And the reason why is, with the spin move, you typically want to be really tight to your defender, right? Well, when you do that, there's typically body contact. And that's where, you know, if they're just off a little inch and they get bumped and they're already a little off balance, they're going to the ground. So the spin move is actually one of the best types of footwork patterns, and obviously that's pretty much the only move I mean, there's variations of spins, but if your feet are spinning, it amounts to a spin move. So that footwork pattern and the ball handling part of things pretty much go together. And have some more like dribble type moves for you to link in with these different types of footwork moves so you can break more ankles. This video's got different basic moves that you could bring into the mix with these moves. Click the like button, the subscribe button, the bell icon to catch the newest videos.